surf fishing 101. You got to learn something, right? Well, where are you going to learn? Are you just going to grab the old YouTube and say, hey, I learned it here? Or maybe you should hook up with, I don't know, somebody that knows a lot about the sport. This week, we're talking to Blake Hunter, Real 30A, and you're listening to Finding Demo Surf Fishing. Man, I gotta tell you, I wish when I had started my surf fishing happiness, I would have actually just said, all right, screw it. I'm going to get a guide, and I'm just going to go out there and learn. But no, I did the normal bonehead move. If that shoe fits and upsets you, I'm sorry. But I went out there, and I just started grinding. Though it was cool that I did it, I really wish that I would have gone the route that we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to bring on Mr. Blake Hunter of Real 30A. The dude is... dare I say genius when it comes to this. I reached out to Blake a while ago, kind of new into the game, and I was trying to find a teacher and see what I was doing wrong. And Blake's like, yeah, hey, I've got classes, I've got the charters, I got all this stuff. Just come on out. And unfortunately, my life was just all over the place with moving in that I just dropped the ball completely. And I kept grinding. And then finally I went to one of Blake's seminars and I realized, oh man, I've missed out on the boat. This guy's got so much more info. So this week, y'all, you're going to hear it right from Blake. So Blake, thank you so much for coming on. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. You know, I really appreciate that intro. And let me just say, I feel like when you're pumping up that music, I had a big old mullet on and I'm walking through a smoke door with a 9-foot rod in my hand, just pumping it up, son. You got me fired up.
Oh man, good stuff right there. Get the glasses. You got to get the whole wraparound glasses too. You know, get the mullet almost like that with. I like it.
Yeah, dude. Skinny black leather pants. Yeah, dude.
Leather pants. That's awesome. Are they water resistant? Because I got to get out there. That's great.
I don't get in the water. I cast from the beach. No, I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks, man. I thank you, and yeah, man, I'm so glad you invited me to do this, and I think you're a great guy, and I appreciate I don't know, a lot of people know this. You're a devil dog, and a lot of my families are devil dogs, so I really appreciate your service too. Because nothing like a good Marine, and Semper Fi, and thank you so much.
Oh man, thank you, Semper Fi, and awesome to your family. Thank you for their service. That's good stuff right there. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Oh, we're just gonna pump it up all day. All right, so I know I got you on Facebook for Real 30A, real30a.com. You any other social media that we need to throw out there? I know YouTube or anything.
No, man, I've flirted with YouTube, like you like to say. I've flirted with it,
She's
and
tempting.
maybe being lazy, but then again, I found my niche where I'm at, and I have Instagram. So I have a YouTube page. There's just nothing on it. You might be able to find my logo on there, but there still could be some stuff coming soon. But to be a full-time YouTuber, probably not. But I would say the Instagram is what I posted most that segues or tags into my Facebook. Instagram gets more hits, and I found it to be a better medium for me. And it's the Real 30A. Real 30A was already taken by some 12-year-old, and
Boo.
yeah. The Real 30. So THEREL 30A. So
Awesome.
You'll find me. Yeah.
There you go. Oh, damn kids and their technology and stuff, man. They always get you.
Get it. Taking my tags. It's okay.
Hopefully that kid's like a Pomp Slayer when he's in his 20s. Like, all right, cool. We can live with this now. You're kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'll teach her. My little daughter loves it. So, I love it. So,
Dude, I've seen your pictures with your daughter. Like, she's going to be a force to be reckoned with. That girl can fish.
Man, I've had her on the beach with other kids. It's okay. You little kids, scared of holding fish. That's natural. It doesn't mean a kid's better than the other. But my little daughter would be like, let me get in there. And she's a very strong-willed girl. So it sucks right now to be a parent, but hopefully later in life she'll be taking care of me when she's a doctor, a lawyer, something like that.
Right.
And but yeah, she gets in there, gets dirty, dude. She loves catching sand fleas. and she loves to. She doesn't mind holding a fish. So
Yeah. All right.
yeah,
Well, so I know you've been a long time fisherman and an angler in all sorts. How long have you been fishing, would
long
you say?
time caller, first time listener.
Yeah. There it is. So how long you been out there, man, doing the fishing game?
The fishing game total, man. So, I would say I've been fishing my whole life. So, I'm originally from Mobile, lived in Santa Rosa Beach, Florida, which is 30A in quotations. If you can't see me,
Air quoting.
podcast world, 30A is a really special place. It's a unique market. There's not really any high rises, condos. So it's a lot of homes, and it's a higher market. It's a higher end market. Just kind of gravitated that way. And, it's a great place to live. It's a great place to fish. It's kind of our own little, it's 26 or 27 miles of coastline, which makes up 30A, but, also fish PCB and Destin, Miramar, like that. But I've been fishing, I'm 37 in July, and I've been fishing for, I thought I caught my first fish was a sheep's head. My dad took me, who didn't like fishing, but, kudos to my dad for seeing my passion and loved it. And, I would encourage any other parent out there who sees something in their kid, whether it's fishing or not, to, let them do it. Even if they don't like to do it, encourage them, be part of their life, and let them do it, because that's always been my passion. That's what I love. So I think at like 6 or 7, I caught my first sheep's head. And, it was game on after that. So, a lot of a lot of people that get into surf fishing, Brian, they get into surf fishing, or let's say they're freshwater fishing, they move down from the coast. What happens I've seen usually is guys get into surf fishing, and then they get into inshore fishing because they want to catch bigger fish, and then they get into offshore fishing. I did the reverse. I did inshore and offshore and kind of conquered that. I mean, I'm not the biggest blue water guy, but I mean, I've caught all that stuff,
Right.
and I love it. But then I wanted to master surf fishing, because that's the thing I never got to do as much, right? Growing up in Mobile, Dauphin Island, everybody was surf fishing, or a couple guys that I knew. I was inshore fishing, chasing trout. Everybody was chasing turkeys in the spring in the Pompano. I was chasing speckled trout and burning them up, catching 50, 60, 70 a day, big fish. So
Damn.
yeah, man, a little different from my fishery now. If you catch 4 or 5, that's a good day,
Yeah,
in Chalkahitchee Bay. So, what I will say is knowing how to fish and taking all that, how to see fish, how to tie knots, how to catch different species of fish, culminated and helped me become a better surf fisherman a lot faster and a lot quicker. And I'll never say I know everything. There's a ton of guys better than me. But, the biggest name of the game for me is being consistent, because I get paid to surf fish. Love the YouTubers out there, but remember, they get paid for you to click. I get paid, people like me, not just me, that do this for a living, get paid to put people on fish, and that's the difference.
Yeah, buddy.
So what I do is based on that, and that's, it's no other. It's as simple as that. Like, I do things that work because I know based on experience, right? So I want to say 37, we'll say 25 years, give or take, but really I've been surf fishing for 10 years, but I've had my business, a Real 30A, since 2016. I was kind of fishing on the beach. How it started, man, I was kind of go into it if you want me to.
Yeah, have at it. I mean, we're on a roll, man. Rock that.
Yeah, man, right? See you on the beach catching fish, and hey, I want to be part of that. Can you show me? And sure, I'll show you. And then eventually I'm like, well, I might as well do this the right way, which I encourage anybody that wants to do this. If you want to be a surf fishing guide or get into that, I encourage everybody to do it the right way. Spend the time to get to know it, learn it. Don't be so gung-ho trying to make a dollar. And, get your LLC, get your insurance, cover yourself, because in the end, when you do it that way and you get your logo and you do it the right way, you look more professional and people will take you more seriously. And there's always respect given and earned in different situations, but when you do it that way, a lot of people will gravitate to you and you'll build your business faster. So if anybody's want to do that in the future, I would say that's the best recipe to do it, is spend some time learning how to surf fish. YouTube's a good way, but getting with a guide can be even better, because it's going to help navigate that quicker for you to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. So you brought up a point a little earlier, but then I've got to ask this. So what is your take on the whole surf fishing craze?
Craze? Yeah, it's a great question. You know, I mean, we could go down so many rabbit holes with this, but I think
I
it's
like them. Let's do the rabbit. Go.
well, I mean, you just pull me back and send me back in, whatever slow down, Blake, whatever you got to say. But let's start from a macro level. I think it's a great thing. I think you can't stop it. And I think YouTube has helped it. I think, guys like me have helped it. I think it's a culmination and a cocktail of just of something that hasn't been conquered yet. And, it's successful. It's easy. My seminars that I think you've been to, I like to say that it's accessible, it's easy, and it's fun. And that's one of the main reasons people like to do it. And, you can kind of go anywhere around the United States that has a coastline and do it, even on the West Coast. Different tactics, but, I want to say in the Gulf Coast, it's always been a lot of the old timers, and it was kind of their thing, and it still is. The best guys I know, especially the commercial guys, they're very secretive people, and they're not as open to sharing information, and that's really how old salts really are. So the more info you give, the more you can be ostracized or shunned. But I'm not saying it's a good thing, but you guys see where they're coming from as to how they make their living. So they don't want people taking from their living because they're trying to catch fish in numbers, especially pompano. So that's how they'd make their living. But the surf fishing craze, it's happened. It's here. The east coast of Florida has kind of had it for a little while now, especially guides, probably longer than us, and it's a bigger coastline, obviously. I think it's great. I think it's it's here to stay. I think there's some growing pains that need to happen with different things, and there's different manufacturers and different people making things. I also think some of it's a little blown out of proportion, meaning that you got to have this rig with this bait to catch this fish on this day. I think that's all kind of crap. I mean, I'm a fish bites branded guy. Sometimes in the wintertime, that's all they want is fish bites. But a lot of times in the spring, I'm using mostly sand fleas. And, I'm trying to catch numbers. I'm trying to catch numbers because that's what my clients get paid me to do. I'm not trying to catch one or two fish. A lot of synthetic baits can catch fish, and they're great. I love a synthetic bait. I mean, I'm a fish bites guy. I think it's the best out there personally. But, in the spring when the numbers are around, I'm going to use a lot more, fresh bait.
Yeah, you're going to go with the live. That live set makes a difference.
Yeah, for sure. And, you can ask any guy that, if you're going for a challenge, use synthetic. If you're going for a real challenge, use like a fly or something, that's all up to you, where you're at in your journey, right? I mean, every fisherman has a journey, but like for me, what I get paid to do, I got to produce. So that's what I do. So if that helps you out.
That does. I mean, it makes perfect sense. I mean, in reality, you encompass the whole thing. I mean, the surf fishing is a glorious thing throughout the country because we have so much. I mean, you can go anywhere. If you're coastal, Atlantic Ocean, Pacific Ocean, the Gulf, I mean, even bays, you go up to Maine and you can start playing into, the Acadia National Park. You got a bunch of there, the Booth Bay, you got harbors and all that. You can still play these games, but you said the biggest important piece that people need to remember is the tactics. What works here in our area might work okay over in the east coast of Florida, but on the same one, if I went to Hatteras in North Carolina, I'm going to have to play my game a little bit different. I'm going to have to change my rigs up or change that one. It's the same for if I went to New England. It's a tactic game. The other pieces still are going to play, but you still need to know what the tactics are. And I think that it's a perfect segue into my next question. Hey, all right, way to go, me.
Yeah. Before you get there, let me say this too. Let me piggyback on what you just said. I could get crucified for this if there's some old schools or guys on the different coasts listening to this, but I personally believe, and I'm not in this class, I'm not in there, but I know guys. I think the guys in the Panhandle, the old school guys, the commercial guys, the guys that win all the tournaments, they're the best surf fishermen in the whole United States.
I'd buy that.
For catching, especially pompano. And the reason I say that is because they can finesse fish when others can't. And here in our clean water, you have to be able to finesse fish these big pompano rather than the East Coast guys who use the double drop rigs. I don't always use double drop rigs, and we can get into that later, but I use different styles of rigs. Chip makes that Mortician's rig, which is a great rig, because it has less tackle on it, no tackle on it, basically just a hook and your mono and your fluorocarbon. But the guys here, the old old timers here because they can fish in calm water conditions and catch fish. When, as you know, on Facebook and stuff, and you see the post every day, everybody's out there surf fishing, on a slick, calm north wind day, and they're sitting there holding their mouth open, going, "What am I not doing right?"
Right.
And
yeah.
it's because it's a challenging day. It's conditions. You got to change it up.
Yeah, because that's not going to the standard double drop pompano rig thrown out at the bar is not exactly going to produce the exact same thing.
Dude, I'm going to get this off, guys. Don't get mad at me, but like a Spudnik is used for rough water conditions, not calm conditions. Use it if you want to. That makes you feel better. But I've personally, when I'm using those 2-drop rigs and I'm using 20-pound fluorocarbon can break because it doesn't give as much, right?
Right.
So it can snap on that snap swivel if you get a big red on or a big pompano, and if you use a braided line and you have it directly tied, you can pop it, and that Spudnik doesn't pop. Now, I will say, I'm a little plug here for our buddy Chip. He's got great Spudniks because the way he makes them, they pop real easy as opposed to the old school ones that had beads on them. The beads pop off. Chips have these little sleeves on there, the sinker guys, and they pop better. But I personally use Spudniks in rough water conditions when I personally have to. I use bank seekers because bank seekers don't tear up my drags, and it also helped me, that bank will slide into that slot where the fish are. I'm giving people a couple nuggets right there already. When you're fishing with the bank seeker, that bank seeker, might move a little bit behind the bar, but where it's going to slide into is usually the spot or the eddy where the fish are feeding.
So you brought up that one, and I remember that one from the seminar. I was going to call you about this, so I ended up getting my hands on some other bank type sinkers. Namely, it was cannonballs. And I threw these things out, and basically it was like, throwing a musket ball, and I was like, all right, this is just fun to watch. I couldn't help just. Yeah, it was like, this is great. I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but this is going to be fun. But after it landed, I started noticing a little bit of movement with the current, and I was like, I remember Blake talking to me about this when it came to bank sinkers. I wonder if the cannonball would be something like that. Do you primarily stick around into the bank sinkers? That's like your preference, or do you have any other kind of recommended sinkers when it goes to that?
Okay, so mine is when I carry my bucket. So, let me say this is kind of funny. So, not Chip, sorry, Brian. So I'm getting Brian. Yeah, the one
it's all good,
we're talking
man.
about Chip. You and I love Chip. He's a
we
great
do.
guy.
Chip is awesome.
I act like he's on the phone with his Chip. No, I'm the only guy, the only surf fishing guy you might know that doesn't have a beach cart. Okay, I hump everything in. Everybody's like, what the heck, man? But where I fish on cliffs. Now, my county's put a lot of new accesses in the last year and a half, public accesses, which I don't necessarily fish as much as fish a lot of private areas because that's the way our beaches are set up for clients. So I fish there a lot. I hump it in. So I have a backpack. I have a Yeti bucket. Don't make fun of me on my Yeti bucket, people.
Never.
I won that thing. I talk crap about it, but I wanted a Dirty Santa gift 2 years ago. But the reason I like it is because I use taller sand spikes, and that bucket's a little higher than a standard 5-gallon bucket, so my sand spikes don't fall out of it.
Hey,
Does that
makes
make sense?
Hell yeah. I mean, you get to carry the trophy for the win with the good memories, and it's still functional. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, sure, right. So, but in that bucket, I carry my weights, right? So going to what you're asking me, my weights I'll put like, 6 or 8, and I use 5 ounce. I use the 12, for set rod fishing, I use the 12-foot Ninja daggers, standard for over the bar and long casts. Wherever I'm trying to get behind the bar, and that rod is made for a 5 ounce.
Yeah.
Now I like 5 ounce bank, and then the 5 ounce bank doesn't hold behind the bar, then I'm gonna go to 5 ounce pyramid. And if the 5 ounce pyramid doesn't go, then I'm gonna use a 4 ounce or 5 ounce, chip sinkers.
Sputniks, yeah. So you're going up to the 4 or 5 ounce, depending on, because that dagger loves a 5, a little bit of a 4, but it loves the 5s.
Yeah, it loves the 5. I think that I can get away with the 4 rather than the 5 behind the bar because the 4 will still hold. So I'm not saying, I'm not going weight to casting ratio there, or leverage. I'm just saying the 4 will hold just as good as uses the 5 in most surf conditions. So. That makes sense. So that's kind of my typical setup. So I like the banks.
Makes sense. I mean, and for people, if you get a chance to go to one of Blake's seminars, this is the kind of knowledge you're going to get that you're going to be looking at like, wait a minute, why wouldn't I do this? And it's one of the biggest things that I would say, and this is from personal experience, and I'm sure if you're listening, you're probably going to be like, yeah, all right, I'll admit to it. And it's okay. This is a safe place. You can admit to these things. We don't
Yeah.
judge.
No.
I've thrown a bank sinker, and I'm like, I'm like, I can't believe I'm throwing a bank sinker. And then all of a sudden I hook up, I'm like, damn it, I'm through. Damn it, he was right again. It's like, it's okay to change your game up. You don't have to just stay into one piece. It's okay to move a little bit. And what's the worst thing that happens? You become a better angler? I mean, oh no, not that. Anything but that.
Right.
Run with it.
And I'm not a gear guru like some of these guys. Like, you won't find me saying, well, Blake, how is that drag tester in that new Fisher 75,000 MPD CRs? I'm like, I couldn't tell you the damn difference, right? I know tackle, I know it, but I'm just, I'm a old school knuckle dragger fisherman. That's how I am. So I know it works. I know it doesn't work. I try new things. I'm always trying. That's another thing that people need to always, just because I say it or you hear some other guy say it, I'm always trying different things. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel every time and throw crawfish out there. Just kidding.
Hello.
Ooh, this is a joke. That's a joke. No, but, the where's it going?
I don't know, but that was good. That was well timed.
Hey-o,
yeah.
But all I'm saying is don't try different things and try depending on where you're fishing, right? But the thing you got to remember is that, I'm using something that works for me in my area that I know. And a lot of this is also, I've learned this on my own, as well as had older guys show me. I'm big on, the personal experience of it. I know it's always, we're going to get into that, talking about hiring a guide to show you. I think that's the best way. But, there is also an element that people need to go out there and do it on their own, because that's the best way to do it. Because then when you make the mistakes, then you learn. And you know what? You learn it. And as long as you're willing to want to get better, you'll keep continuing to learn. Because I have people ask me all the time, like, man, like, how are you catching them and I'm not? How are you? And I'll have two people around me, both sides of me, and I'm burning them up. And my answer to them is just experience.
Yeah.
I know how to adjust, and it's the adjustments that I make that make me more, put maybe more fish in my bucket as the other guy.
And experience is the key. I mean, that always speaks for itself. So you already segued it, so let's work into that one. So with that one, I do know that you do the guiding, but you also do the teaching piece, which I think is huge that a lot of people don't think about. They're like, oh, well, if I go out with a guide, I'm just going to go catch fish. But it's you and Smitty are kind of the top two that I know of that do this. It's a teaching experience.
Yeah, it's a teaching experience. That's what I tell people, especially new guys that move down. Now, there's a lot of people moving to my county, and I imagine there's a lot of people moving to your county, is what I've read.
A little bit. It's getting a bit full.
Yeah. You've got a little bit more space than me, I would say. You can kind of get away from people. Me, I've got more houses on the beach but still, like, I love teaching people. I'm going to give you, I like to say my little 80-20 rule, I'm going to give you 80% of what you need to make you successful. The rest that you need to do is put the time in. So, and dude, and let's be honest, I'm going to say this, and this kind of goes back to tongue in cheek of, this rig, this rock, this blah, 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 to catch this many fish. A lot of it is really just basically getting a few things right.
Yeah.
It's getting, if you get a handful of things right, I think you've heard me say this at the seminar, then you're going to catch fish. You maybe not catch 30, 40, 50 pompano during the spring run, but, not everybody catches that many.
Right.
So, you've got to be there at the right times and setups. So, it's all, you just got to put the time in. So.
And that's the big one right there is, just, it's not asking much. You just got to get out there and play with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you kind of already nailed it, but I guess I'll circle into it. So the advantage really into hiring a guide, especially you, because, to me, like I said before when we were off air, is, when I think of guides, it's like you're right up there. It's like, okay, I got to call Blake. He'd be the guy that I know would be like, hey, dude, do this. Hey, come out here. We'll do this stuff. With the advantage of hiring a guide is, you're going to get the education, but you're also going to get that experience. And if you're coming down here, especially into 30A, and you're like, oh, I just want to fish, in hiring a guide, the big advantage is you're going to be on the fish, and you're going to learn on that one too. So you're not going out there and just kind of blind throwing. If you come down from Michigan and it's like, oh, I'm going to go fish here. I was like, well, can you go fish there? Well, I don't know. Well, if you had a guide, you'd know where you could go, couldn't go. And I think that's one extra little advantage piece there. I don't know. Is there more that you would say would be advantageous for getting a guide?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. If I'm a guy, just me, like Blake, without being a surf fishing guide, and I'm going to move to an area, and I want to find out. And now it can suck for the guides. Like I'm just going to be honest, the flip side of that equation. Like let's take Orange Beach. I have a friend over there, he's an inshore guide, and there's a lot of people moving down there. And he showed spots and was really teaching because he's a good-hearted guy. Next thing you know, he's got guys that are in boats the next day fishing that same hole. So, I mean, but, the best thing to do is hire the guy, because take the spots away from it. The experience that I hold in my head, the 10,000 hour rule, is going to help you become a better fisherman. It's going to, but you need to, if you're going to do that, you need to be able to ask questions. I would always ask questions.
Yeah, you can't be scared of that.
No, and if you're somewhat fishy guy, or, you're like, I want to talk about, like, just say like a pond fisherman or a guy that fishes the river. Surf rod fishing is a lot like catfishing, is what I like to say. It's a couple different things to it, but the main gist of it, the beginner level of surf fishing, and there's intermediate, there's advanced, which is like, you'll get into this, I'm sure later, is ladder fishing and seeing them. That's a little bit more advanced. I mean, it still takes a lot of practice to do that and know what you're doing, but it's just like freshwater fishing in a pond.
Oh, yeah.
Just different.
Well, you nailed it.
Yep.
See, great segue. Like, this is why you share notes before you do the podcast. It's always smart.
Yeah.
The ladder fishing, it was funny because I heard about it last, I don't know, 6 months ago at the last seminar. I was like, oh yeah, that's going to be something. And then I saw it on YouTube. I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. But I wasn't seeing any guides offering it.
Did not do it right. There's a lot of stuff that I'm just like, golly.
Yeah.
No power to that guy that did it, or people that have done it, but they still, what they did was based on lack of experience, never doing it. They just put up a click video and they caught fish, but there's a couple of things they could have done a little differently that would set them up to be a little bit better, and even had better camera angles for seeing fish. But hopefully they'll do it again in the future, and they'll learn from what they didn't do wrong.
So it's one of the few things you offer in one of your charters too is ladder fishing. Depending on the timelines, obviously that's a conversation for a client to give you a call, like, hey, what's up with ladder fishing? Because there are required conditions. You can't go out there when it's 4 foot seas and jump on the ladder. That's not a good idea.
Man, why not? Let's ride it, dude.
Don't get me wrong, dude. I will do that. I am dumb. I mean, when in Rome, I mean, what's the worst that happens? Oh wait, everything.
Look at this goober right here. Look at this, smoking a cigar. Yeah. Tom, Brian, I took my ladder, my 8-10 foot ladder, depending on what I want to use that day, and everybody's just staring at me like, what is this guy doing?
Yep.
The most redneck beep I've ever seen in my I'm just smiling at them, and I put all my stuff down, and I towed it out there, and I hook one up, and I look back, and they're all just staring at you like, this son of a gun, like, what is this old boy doing? Which is actually an ancient thing, not ancient. The guys back in the day, most of them did it for cobia, in the 50s and 60s. And man, there's been some crazy contractions. I see some old pictures of some of these guys, especially in my area. Man, because they instead of having a boat, see, you couldn't get a boat out there for cobia unless you came out the pass. Still, there's not. You got Panama City Pass, and then you've got Destin Pass, and in between, you're still 12 miles either way to the pass, or 13 or 15 or 17. So what these guys did is they made like these contractions and even ladders, and they would sight fish for cobia in the spring. Well, you can also do that for pompano. Yeah. And, what people don't realize with the cobia too. And I had one this year. I almost hooked him. He chased it, and that would have been really cool to catch him off the ladder.
Yeah, it would have. That would have been awesome.
I would have been a YouTube star. Look at me.
Yeah, buddy. Clicking for days.
Just kidding.
Oh, the ladder is so cool because it's one of those few things people haven't done, and it's when you talked about it, it was really cool. I'm not going to go into any pieces on that, but it was just like okay, all of this makes sense. That I can understand why it was done and what the advantage is. So if you all are coming down to 30A and you're looking to get a guide, definitely ask Blake about that, because I that could be a fun one for you. That's a whole awesome experience in itself. That's for sure.
it's really fun. I would say, you got to be around. It's going to be mid-April into May, and it's going to be, a one-person ordeal with me. It's going to be me on a ladder and you on a ladder next to me, and you got to kind of be ready. It's going to be like a 3-4 hour window, and that's all you got because you got to have a really calm day. It's when the north wind comes, when the fronts stop really coming, they're dying out, and so we're going to have like those. It's kind of like what we have in the fall, but we just don't have them in our area, like, we just do it in the spring. So anyways, the wind dies down, and so you have this no ripple effect, right? So about 10 o'clock it dies down. You need the sun up, and then usually by 1-2 o'clock, that sun coming around, you'll start blowing out of the southwest, and that turns it up too much, so you can't do it. So really it's a mid-morning to lunch ordeal, and you get out there and you spend 3 or 4 hours on a ladder, and it's fun.
Sounds like it, man. So
All sorts of stuff.
yeah, I definitely want to have to thank. I've said this a bunch, but I'm definitely gonna. I need to put this out there. The seminars you've done, I thank you, man. I mean, I know it's not easy to get all the people together to do those, but the amount of knowledge that you spit out there is huge. And I think anybody gets a chance that they listen to this. If you hear a Blake Dahlgren one, you should go. It's nothing but free info, but also the networking and the discussion pieces are huge. So thank you for doing those, man. I really do appreciate it. I know everyone else does.
So I don't. You're welcome, and I don't charge for them. Thought about it; it'd be hard to do, but that's why I kind of sell apparel too. So hopefully, if people do come, they can, any way they can help support my business, buy some apparel, buy some rods. I've got some decent looking stuff, so it just helps the local business out. But I love helping people get better at what they're doing and figure out their own way.
Well, speaking of the rods, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's what I was just saying. That's what it's all about, is helping others.
Yeah. Well, talking about the rods, a lot of
Yeah.
people don't know this yet, but here it comes. It's getting announced soon, too. I know it'll be announced before this podcast comes out, but you've got a line of rods coming out.
Yeah, I do, man. I've got the real 38 rods. Funny story how it all happened. I have another side of my business where I rent fishing gear, so I made those, and I was looking for a way to backwards integrate my business and just get things cost effective and grow. And the great thing is I found a manufacturer with help some other guys in the industry, and I created a 9-foot and a 10.5-foot rod. So they're great for beginners and they're great for intermediate. And they're also the rods are really designed for up close fishing as well as intermediate fishing. I mean, my 10.5-footer can throw as far as my dagger, honestly,
Dang.
with a 4-ounce. Yeah, I can, dude.
That's
it
range.
Can. So, yeah, and they're both medium heavy fast, but my 10.5 is just got like, it's super, like, it's perfectly stiff enough to but the tip can see a pinfish hit it.
Oh, nice.
So like, and let's talk about that, right? Like with rods, the old timers, and some of them, even with I love the Dagger, and there's some other brands out there. I think Mark Burford makes a great rod for the over the bar rods too. But a lot of your old timers in my area like these really old glass, lambda glass rods that were just like, like you would pop it and it's like that door stopper that's bang. You know what I mean? They like that vibration, but what you couldn't see on there is you couldn't see the bite detection. It didn't have it. So surf fishermen, that's the reason we like the rods, or I like the Dagger. Is the Dagger is basically 12 foot. It's basically a medium heavy fast, so it's stiff enough to cast it really far, especially in the wind, yet it has a flexible light tip. That's the fast part of it. So medium heavy as you go up it, and it's got a fast tip. I basically did the same thing with mine, but with a shorter rod. So, because I need to make it for people that are beginners, because beginner throwing a 12-foot rod is a learning curve. So I use all in. And that's another thing, I rotate out in my repertoire. I use 12s. I do use 11s, but I mostly use now 12s, 10.5s, and 9s, depending on what I'm doing, what I'm targeting time of year. So I have a repertoire, and I'll usually fish 3 or 4 rods the most.
Yeah. It's nice with that setup, too, because you can really range the game a lot better. Your 12-footer, hey, yeah, cool, I can go long ball with that. And you could also go short with the 12 one as well. But when you got the 9s and the 10s, too, you can be like, well, watch this. I'll do as you said it very well in one of your seminars, you can do the Verizon Tower on the phone. You can play the short, medium, long, long, long. That's really going to give you those games.
Yeah, man, you're taking notes. Yeah, you're right. So like,
Only a
when
little. I mean, it's you talking. I'm going to listen to everything. I'm like, I'm remembering that. I'm writing
well,
that down.
sometimes, yeah, sometimes I just spit crap out there, but no, no, just kidding. No, I don't. I try to make it. I don't try to. I don't lead people down paths, but that's just the way my brain thinks, right? So like, yeah, I mean, when you're playing a great tip, or people can't see this, but imagine you got the bar, and imagine that you got your number one rod. Your number one rod is going to be on the east side, so basically left to right if I'm looking in the water. So one, two, let's say you got four. 1, 2, 3, 4, all in a row. My number one rod is going to be my shortest behind the bar, and then I'm going to try to stagger like a Verizon tower. It's kind of what Brian said. So a little deeper. Number two is going to be a little deeper. Number three is going to be like, let's say number one, I threw it 100 yards, right? And then number two is 110 yards. Number three is 120 yards. Number four is 130 yards. So I've got a 40-yard gap there covered with 4 lines, just in case those fish go shallow or deep. So I know where those fish are going down the bar, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and then you can target throughout that. So
Right.
it's a great piece of knowledge to, zone fishing is very important in the game. So at least when you hone in, it's like, all right, I know where you are. Game on. I'm going to find you all now.
Right, and you're right. And the zone's not necessarily talking about behind the bar, before the bar. I think a lot of
Right.
guys lock in. That's what the YouTubers talk about. But I'm talking about zoning even behind the bar.
Right.
And remember this too. On a north wind day, calm days, the fish are going to run deeper behind the bar than they would up shallow on the bar. So you really need to bomb it out there on a north wind day.
Dude, this has been awesome. So, I got the final question for you here. What do you wish that tourists or new anglers would do when they came to 38 to fish?
You know, Peel that onion back a little bit more. Like with me, or with like explain that a little more.
Well, more so like, all right, you have the pulse on your area. You know your zone, you know all these things, but people are coming down there to fish that, really don't have never had any experience, or they really want to get out there. And it's like, I wish you would have just done this and you would have probably had more success.
Well, yeah, just a guide, but like finding us is not always the best, because using the guys, I'll just say this, finding us meaning guides, like most people that come down on vacation, even if they're going to surf fish, aren't always in our Facebook groups.
Right.
So like, I don't really, nothing against, any of the groups, we're in a few of them, and that, but like, I see guys market in there, and I'm like, I love it, but like most people that call me aren't in there. They're going to be moms. They're going to be, so, I would say, book a guide, but how do we close that gap? That's a marketing issue for a company, and strategy, and getting with different people. But I think, getting with a guide, and especially a guy that's knowledgeable, like I would always try to find the guy who's got the most experience and most knowledge. Like I want the guy who's got the most time on the water.
Yep.
And that guy similar to that. He might not want that old guy who's like super salty and angry at life, because it tends to get that way with fishermen. They're like, "Arr!"
Yeah.
I've been out 70 years. All right, kiss the ring, right?
Yeah.
All right, but like that's fine. But I want a guy who's got the most experience that I can find, that I know is willing to teach me and help me become better. That's what I'm gonna look for if I was somebody.
Outstanding. Blake, thank you so much, dude. I really appreciate this time. I know that everyone's definitely took a lot of good stuff from it. Everyone, if you get the chance, make sure you get a chance to go on there. Find them on real30a.com, Instagram, the real REEL 30A, and on Facebook, you can find them on Real 30A. Blake, thank you, man. I cannot wait to see you here in the future. I know I will. We're in a small area, so it's easy for me to eventually drive the hour and a half over there.
Yeah, Brian, I want to say I appreciate you. I'm glad we lined it up. I know we've been kind of go back and forth, but kids and work and family, this, it is what it is. But I think you're doing a great thing. I think you're willing to learn. I think you're going about the right way, and I applaud you for that. And I think you're a great guy.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you so much. You have no idea. So we'll get you on another round. I know we'll get you back on here sometime. I'll find a way.
Yeah, we'll talk. We'll get real dark. We'll get real dirty. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in this week. Stick around. We're gonna have some more stuff in the near future. Thanks for taking out Finding Demo Surf Fishing. We'll see you next time.